Hey guys, so if you had an opportunity to see the previous Lightning Storm Druid video, this is going to be an augmentation of that based off the updates in patch 1.3.1 and what I think I want to do going into leaderboards, or at least the strategy I want to use for that concept of what can this class do going that way. So without further ado, here we go. Let's start off with the gearing section. So based off our previous video, not too much has changed. We're still using Tempest Roar. We're now using Mad Wolf's Glee. We're still using Unesthetic Wraps. We're still using Tibalts. We're still going for Ghostwalker, Legendary Aspect on the boots. We're still maintaining Shepherds on our two-hander. We're also using Retaliation now on the Amulet. And we have the Ring of the Starless Skies, which as of patch 1.3.1 is actually working. And finally, Ring of the Stampede. These are what we're looking for. It's important in the Paragon board that you know that we try to get close and distant on as many pieces of gear as we can. I think this is going to make a big difference for you. In this build, well, I got to say, again, big shout out to Ace, Goblin Inc. here on YouTube. He does a lot of great work for the community, especially Druid players. Like, he does a great job at the Paragon board and testing and doing his due diligence. So I love him for that. But I'm doing things a little bit different in this build. So I'm not sure if he decides to go this way or not, but I made some sacrifices in the board so that in the Paragon board, we do get Thunderstruck. And so I could get better rolls on my damage to close and distant. And that'll give me an additional multiplicative damage bonus, which we don't really need for Nightmare 70 dungeons, which is what I think the difficulty for leaderboards is. But because I'm going for this node in the Paragon board, that's why some of my gearing decisions is to maintain close and distant, where maybe yours isn't, okay? Furthermore, I mentioned before in the other video, if you don't have Tempest Roar, the build is going to feel kind of rough. There's quite a few things that do rely on Tempest Roar, and if you're looking for this, Duriel is the go-to farm for that. And while you may not have access to Duriel, I did find a Tempest Roar running vaults myself. And I found that, I believe it was in World Tier 3 that I got that, so that was pretty cool. But this 925 version did come from Duriel, just so you're aware of that. Now, Mad Wolf's Glee. What's nice about Mad Wolf's Glee is, well, the build does a lot of damage now, right? Before we were doing about 1.5 million, and I was very happy with that. Now I'm seeing hits for like 11 million, 13 million, which is absolutely just devastating compared to where I was. I'm very happy with that. I can help run more people through more activities in the game, but it's beyond the power necessary to actually complete anything in the game. So why Mad Wolf's Glee? Well, movement speed never hurt anybody, so we'll take some of that. Increased damage all day long. Maximum life, we'll absolutely want that because the build does feel squishy, and the latest version feels a lot better. And then damage reduction from poison enemies. Just remember, every time you critically strike with a lightning skill, you're going to make things poison for a duration of time, and that happens because of our skill tree. So I'm going to break that down right over here, okay? Toxic Claws says critical strikes with werewolf skills, which is a lightning storm skill, by the way, now. Deals 8% of that base damage as poison for 4 seconds. So as long as you're critically striking, which you will be doing with these gloves, you're going to also maintain the benefit of that werewolf storm skill giving you poison, okay? And so Mad Wolf's Glee definitely appreciates that damage reduction just for free, so we take that. Again, Unesthetic Wraps, get the best version you can. Tibalts, we're still using Tibalts every time we become unstoppable, and for 4 seconds after, we get 50 primary resource. So we are still using, in this version, Earthen Bulwark. It's just a great defensive skill. It's fantastic. In the previous version, we had a way to make this come up more frequently because we'd be using the symbiotic aspect in our chest. And you still absolutely can do that, but we're not trying that for right now. One thing I'd recommend trying for yourself out there is try Mad Wolf's Glee on your chest, or try the Juggernaut legendary aspect instead of this. Juggernaut is a very, very good defensive option, and you could also get a chest that has something like total armor, maximum life, damage reduction, and damage reduction while fortified. If you have that, it's another alternative, but this is good for like speed clearing and getting through content rapidly, such as vaults for leveling up glyphs. Finally, the boots, Ghostwalker aspect. So max evade charges is what I'm going for. That's my preference. All stats is really good. Willpower is our main stat. Again, if you're new to Druid, what does willpower do for you? It gives you increased skill damage and healing, and also increases your overpower. So by far and away, willpower is exactly what you want for any build. But being that this is the update to this version of the build in 1.3.1, nothing's really changing there. We're going for Ghostwalker at the moment. You could try Exploiters if you want even more damage, but again, I don't think we need it. You could try that if you want to. Also, Craven seems interesting if you want to go that way. Finally, two-hander didn't really change. All stats, willpower would be great, but because I don't have that just yet, I'm working on this one, okay? So I have all stats, core skill damage, which would be Lightning Storm, and I have close and distant. And again, I'm trying to get better rolls on that so I can appreciate the multiplicative damage application from Thunderstruck in the Paragon board. As for the Amulet, I'm not really entirely sold on Retaliation just yet because, well, we're not really fortifying as much as we used to be. So this could definitely be something like Elements as an option. It could also be Conceited if you wanted to, but for right now, I'm trying Retaliation to get 45% increased multiplicative damage from Lightning Storm. And I do think that additional damage, movement speed isn't the worst. Cooldown's always very nice. And then Envenom is still where I'm going. I want Envenom passives. They're just too damn good. Now let's talk about Ring of the Starless Skies. In patch 1.3.1, this ring finally got the buff. And here's the thing you probably want to know. It didn't work before. So now you get to appreciate all the critical strike chance, damage, core skill damage, and lucky hit chance with a ring that gives you 40x multiplicative damage. And so using all this jazz, using all the rings and everything set up this way, we should have, and you should have something close to maximum resistance. Now, I've taken some penalties in the Paragon board, and I can move a couple spots around to get this capped out. It won't be all that big of a deal to do. But using like these sorts of items, you should be able to, when you slot with like a diamond, a ruby, or whatever you need, it could be a singular elemental gem, toss it in there, you should be able to cap out your resistances. And I will absolutely shore this up with one minor choice, probably after I make this video for you guys, but not a big deal. It's all set. Finally, the Stampede. So Stampede's nice, and I'm still trying to roll this ring, as you can see. I'm trying to get that to be 7.5% critical strike chance, damage to close, damage to distant, and there's a bit of leniency there. I could have gained a lot more, and in terms of life, I can get more life as well. So at the time of this video, I got 17,853, which is quite a bit less. However, the armor values is better than it was before previously. If we get a good Juggernaut roll on chest, our armor value is going to be pretty much A-okay. All right? So let's talk about the second part. This is the Seneschal construct, and this is like the soup du jour. This is the nice. So when you use Tempest with max rank level 10 will fire off every 1.1 seconds, and that's important, okay? Remember that this Seneschal construct is going to attack targets every 1.1 seconds. If that's true, breaking support will make things vulnerable for 2 seconds, which is to say perma-vulnerable on targets hit by Tempest, which is many things, okay? In addition, I got Evernight, which it's lucky, got this already. We're still going for Genesis. We don't have Genesis yet, but Evernight says, when the supported skill is used, I get +4 to all skills for 2 seconds. But the attack is every 1 second, so I'm always getting permanent +4 to all skills. And then finally, resource support. When I added resource support, that changed everything for me. And at rank 10, I get 20 primary resource whenever this guy fires off every second or so. So what that means is, currently my spirit cost for Lightning Storm is roughly 16 per strike before any applications of Starless Skies happens, okay? So you get a shite ton of resources, absolute shite ton, from this setup right now. Furthermore, flash of adrenaline, okay? So it administers a quick flash of adrenaline, so I'm getting 20% multiplicative damage. I'm then extending that duration with the duration support, and the tactical support allows this to happen 40% faster. Finally, I'm using safeguard support to give me damage reduction by 13.5% at the moment, and I believe that'll be 15% when it's all set at the next rank. Furthermore, this will be replaced by Genesis just to try some things out. This is not the final Seneschal construct that I'm going to use, but it's pretty close to what I like. It's quite nice. So again, multiplicative all the time. We're also getting additional damage reduction, and that feels good at the moment. Let's go over the skill tree. There's been some adjustments there too. So from the top, we're still using 1 point into Earth Spike, 1 point into Enhanced Earth and Spike. We're maxing out all points into Lightning Storm, 1 point into Enhanced Lightning Storm, 1 point into Raging Lightning Storm. We put 1 point into Heart of the Wild and 3 points into Wild Impulses. 1 point goes into Predatory Instinct and 3 points into Digidegrade Gate for the movement speed. We're going to put 1 point into Earthen Bulwark with 1 point into Enhanced Earthen Bulwark and 1 point into Preserving Earthen Bulwark. Additionally, 3 points into Ancestral Fortitude, 3 points into Vigilance. Then we navigate down. 1 point into Wolves. 3 points into Nature's Reach, 1 point into Poison Creeper, 1 point into Ravens, 1 point into Enhanced Ravens, and 1 point into Brutal Ravens. Finally, we're going to put 1 point into Neurotoxin, 1 point into Toxic Claws, and we're maxing out 3 points into Envenom. The reason you see 6 is because I have +3 from that amulet that I showed. In the ultimate skill tree, we're now using Petrify, 1 point into Petrify, 1 point into Prime Petrify, 1 point into Supreme Petrify, 3 points into Resonance, 3 points into Circle of Life, 3 points into Defiance. While you see a 6 here, I get +3 from our gloves, the Unesthetic Wraps. 3 points into Quick Shift and 3 points into Heightened Senses. And finally, Lupine Ferocity. Every 6th werewolf skill will critically strike and deal 70% multiplicative damage, and that increases to 140% increased multiplicative damage against injured enemies. So this change used to be Nature's Fury. Additionally, we're getting so much more damage. From this adjustment, we rapidly fire off 6 werewolf skills because it's Lightning Storm. You see a lot of advantage here. Another option, if you don't want to get those massive hits, but you want to get something a little bit more juicy, but not so devastating, you could absolutely take Ursine's Strength. Ignore the top part. You're not a bear. You don't have to worry about that. What you do get to enjoy is while you're healthy, you get 25% increased multiplicative damage, and whenever you do a multiplicative overpower hit, that's again 25% multi. So Ursine's Strength is not a bad option, actually, and I just happen to go with Lupine Ferocity because I like to hit things really hard. It's very nice. I'd recommend you do the same. So that's the skill setup. And by the way, so Petrify is really juicy because you pretty much stun everything for 4 seconds unless it's a boss. You push Stagger, but then you deal 30% increased multiplicative damage. But against bosses, which is where this build used to struggle, critical strikes against it, which is what you're always doing, is increased by 50% multiplicative damage for 7 seconds. So that's huge. And if you happen to kill anything while it's petrified, you get 25 spirit in this regard. You don't have to take Supreme Petrify. I just find it to be a nice to have. Okay? Now, in the Paragon board, this may look very similar because, again, this is a heavily inspired, if not completely taken from, Goblin Inc. with a couple of adjustments. So our initial starting board, we're going to be using Spirit. This is going to give us multiplicative damage, which we love to see. It also gives us critical strike damage. The second board we're going into is going to be Keeper. Keeper is nice because it gives you additional multiplicative damage that's not physical, which is lightning. Also gives us additional armor. Okay? The next board we're going to go into is going to be the Fulminate. The next board is going to be Constricting Tendrils, and board 2 was Inner Beast. So Inner Beast was our first board. Board 2 is going to be Constricting Tendrils, and the glyph inside Constricting Tendrils for me is Fulminate. So Fulminate gives me additional lightning damage, and I deal additional multiplicative damage to healthy and injured targets, in addition to what Lupine Ferocity already does. The next board we're going to check out is going to be the Heightened Malice board, where we get to use the Earth and Sky glyph. Okay? The next board we move into is going to be Ancestral Guidance. And in the Ancestral Guidance board, we're going to be taking the Fang and Claw glyph. Okay? This gives us, while in Werewolf or Werebear, close enemies take 12% multiplicative damage from us, which is fantastic. In addition, we go up here and we grab the Lust for Carnage board. And the glyph inside here is going to be Werewolf. So we take less damage while we're a werewolf, which is all the time because of Mad Wolf's Glee, and because of Tempest Roar while we're casting Lightning Storm. And then every time we critically strike with Lightning Storm, we get 2 spirit. Know that I've tried this with the new Ring of the Starless Skies, and you do still feel a difference. You're not going to feel it against multiple targets when you're hitting that, but you will notice a difference on single target, which is where this build suffers a lot. So there has been some concessions in my mind to not get Lust for Carnage anymore with Ring of the Starless Skies. You do save quite a few points, and again, you could use these to like shore up some resistances if you feel like you don't need it yourself. Okay? And then finally, we are going to be moving into the Thunderstruck board. And in the Thunderstruck board, we're going to be slotting the Territorial glyph. So this gives us damage reduction. So a lot of the problems that Ace was speaking to in his build guide, I also found to be true. As an example, it's like this, right? You're kind of squishy, unfortunately. Like, oh, hold on. We're in combat now. Here we go. We're getting assaulted, okay? We're taking everything down. Easy life, okay? Back off, get your own sandwich, gentlemen. So I did find this to be a little bit squishy, and with the armor value not capped, it's really not that big of a deal. We just remove Mad Wolf's Glee, and we could toss it on for bosses if we want. Mad Wolf's Glee is very, very nice in that it gives you +3 ranks to all werewolf skills, subsequently giving you +3 ranks to Lightning Storm, which is how we currently have, let me see here for you guys, Lightning Storm currently coming in at +12 to all skills. However, when our Seneschal Construct hits, it goes to 16, which is awesome, bringing up the base value of Lightning Storm to about 105,000. And so this is the build I've been using. This is the latest version that's been very, very strong for me. And I recommend you give it a go to see if you enjoy it. You could use Flicker Step on your boots to give you even more Petrify, and that may be the way to go. I just don't know that that's the case for me just yet. I'm going to do some level 70 Nightmare Dungeon farming just to see how this feels. I believe we're absolutely fine. I've been running tier 100 with this thing, and it still flies through that, no problem at all, not a care in the world. It's been fantastic. So this is the latest 1.3.1 Lightning Storm Druid updates. I wanted to share with you guys to give you an update as to what the build's looking like for me and where we're taking it. And I'm happy to say we breached over 10 million damage with this Lightning Storm skill. So there you go. At any point, if you guys enjoyed the content, you can check me out on Twitch. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays starting at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm live to answer questions and legit play with you guys and make your druids huge too. I want to say thank you so much for checking out today's video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.